Hi, I'm Olivia. At first, life was incredible. I had just been promoted to senior marketing manager at one of Seattle's top tech firms, and my husband, John, and I had finally saved enough for a down payment on our dream home. With John working as a software developer, our dual incomes gave us a comfortable lifestyle. We were the picture of a young, thriving professional couple living the dream. Then there was Karen. Karen, my mother-in-law, seemed sweet during my courtship with John. She brought homemade cookies to family gatherings and asked me about my career with what I thought was genuine interest. I should have noticed the glint in her eyes when John mentioned my promotion. Family is everything, she'd say at Sunday dinners, stirring her coffee with a knowing smile. We support each other, no matter what. The first red flag appeared at Easter dinner, 3 months after our wedding. John tells me you're making 6 figures now, sweetheart, Karen announced, her voice slicing through the chatter at the table. Everyone paused mid-bite. You know, your cousin Jessica is struggling with her student loans. Mom, we talked about this, John said, his voice faltering just enough to betray his discomfort. Karen wasn't fazed. I'm just saying we're family. When I was young, we all pitched in. Your Aunt Mary paid for my nursing degree. Her tone dripped with Oscar-worthy guilt. I kept my composure. We're saving for our future right now, but I can help Jessica with her loan applications if she'd like. The look Karen gave me could have curdled milk. That was just the beginning. After that, the subtle jabs started. Comments about how young couples today were so selfish, how real families shared everything, how she'd raised John to understand family obligations. At every gathering, Karen would corner me in the kitchen, recounting tales of relatives who abandoned the family by refusing to share their wealth. She began showing up unannounced at our house with sob stories about distant cousins and their financial woes. The breaking point came last week. Karen called a family meeting at her house. When John and I arrived, we found not just Karen but all 3 of John's siblings and their spouses seated and solemn. Olivia, dear, Karen began, holding a neatly typed sheet of paper. I've calculated everyone's contributions to the family fund based on their incomes. Your monthly share would be $3,000. I stared at her, dumbfounded. Excuse me? It's for the family emergency fund, she explained, her voice as sweet as syrup. Everyone contributes based on their income. Then, with that sugar-coated smile, John's already agreed. I turned to John, but he couldn't meet my eyes. That's when I realized this wasn't just Karen meddling. It was her attempt to control our lives through money. The car ride home was painfully silent. John opened his mouth a few times as if to say something, but no words came out. Finally, he spoke. Maybe Mom has a point about family obligations. I nearly swerved off the road. Are you serious? $3,000 a month for a fund we've never even heard of. You don't understand, he said, his tone defensive. This is how we've always done things. Mom managed all our finances growing up. She knows what she's doing. That was just the start. Within days, the whispers began. John's sister, Emma, called, her voice dripping with concern. Everyone's worried about you, Olivia. Karen says you've been hoarding money while family members are struggling. At family gatherings, the shift was palpable. Relatives who once chatted warmly now avoided me. Conversations stopped abruptly when I entered the room. Karen had been busy spreading her narrative. Did you know Olivia bought a designer purse while poor Jessica might lose her apartment? I overheard Karen telling John's Aunt Beth at a barbecue. For the record, the designer purse was a $50 clearance find, and Jessica's apartment troubles were news to me. John grew more distant with each passing day. Mom says you're tearing the family apart with your selfishness, he said one evening over dinner before retreating to his home office, but Karen had made a mistake. She'd grown too confident in her web of control. During one of her infamous kitchen corner ambushes, cousin Amy pulled me aside, her eyes darting nervously. Be careful, Olivia, she whispered. Karen did this to my mom years ago, convinced her to hand over her inheritance for the family fund. Mom never saw a penny of it again. That revelation was my tipping point. I started dating, and what I uncovered painted a chilling picture. Uncle Pete's failed business, Karen had managed his startup funds. Aunt Sarah's mysterious debt that forced her to sell her house. Another case of Karen's financial help. A pattern emerged. Karen targeted successful family members, guilted them into contributing to her so-called family fund, and somehow the money always disappeared into nebulous emergencies no one could quite explain. Then came the final straw, Karen's emergency family intervention. We were all gathered in her living room, the air thick with tension. This time, she'd outdone herself, presenting a full PowerPoint of my supposed selfishness, complete with doctored receipts and fabricated luxury purchases. "We're here because we're worried about Olivia's impact on this family's unity," Karen declared, clicking through slides. John sat next to her, avoiding my gaze, his silence cutting deeper than any accusation. I stood, my hands steady but my voice sharp. "Before we continue, I have some questions about the family fund's previous distributions." Karen's confident demeanor flickered for the first time. "That's not relevant, oh." "Actually, it is." I turned to Uncle Pete. "Would you like to share what happened to your startup investment?" The room erupted into chaos. Karen screeched about disloyalty, while John tried to hush me, but the damage was done. I saw it, a spark of recognition in several family members' eyes. The first crack in Karen's carefully constructed facade. And I wasn't done yet. Amy's tip about her mom's inheritance had been just the beginning. I hired a private investigator, the best $3,000 I'd ever spent. What I uncovered was staggering. Karen's family fund was a black hole of debt and deceit. Maxed out credit cards, remortgaged houses, and personal loans taken out in various family members' names. She told my mom that money went to cousin David's medical bills, Amy whispered one night, her hands trembling as we pored over the documents on my kitchen table. David never had surgery. I started a group chat, carefully adding family members I suspected were Karen's victims. The stories poured in. She convinced me to co-sign a loan for her investment property. Aunt Sarah revealed. There was no property. My business didn't fail, Uncle Pete confessed. She drained the accounts she managed for me. Meanwhile, Karen escalated her harassment. She began showing up at my office, cornering me in the parking lot. "You ungrateful little snake," she hissed one morning, her face twisted with rage. "I'll make sure everyone knows what you really are." I recorded everything. When John stumbled upon my investigation files, his reaction was explosive. Not at Karen, but at me. "How dare you investigate my mother?" he shouted. "She's done everything for this family. She's stealing from everyone, John. Look at the evidence." "I want a divorce," he said coldly. "Mom was right. You were never really family." I didn't cry. Something inside me had been bracing for this moment. "Okay, John. But before you go, you might want to check your credit report. Your mom opened 3 cards in your name last year." He called me a liar and stormed out, straight to Karen's house, of course. But I wasn't done. At a company charity gala, Karen made her boldest move yet, crashing the event and telling my CEO that I'd been embezzling family money. I let her talk. Then, during my scheduled presentation, I stepped up to the podium. "Since we're discussing financial responsibility," I began, clicking to my first slide. "Let's talk about the real numbers." The screen filled with evidence. Karen's debt schemes, forged signatures, fraudulent loans. Videos of her threats played on a loop. "You're ruining my family," Karen shrieked, lunging for the podium. Security held her back as she spiraled into a tirade about ungrateful children and family loyalty. In the stunned silence that followed, 3 of my coworkers came forward, admitting Karen had contacted them too, trying to spread her lies. Phase 1 of Karen's takedown was complete. The real reckoning came at the Thompson family reunion. Normally a potluck filled with forced smiles, this year I brought receipts, literally. Before we start the usual festivities, I announced, standing at the front of the community center, "We need to discuss what happened to the family fund." Karen's face turned ashen as I projected bank statements, loan documents, and credit reports onto the screen. Years of her financial abuse laid bare in black and white. The room fell silent as I walked through each scheme. Jessica's non-existent student loans, David's fake medical bills, Amy's mom's stolen inheritance. That money was meant for family emergencies. Karen tried to interject, but Aunt Sarah was the first to rise. "Like the emergency where you took my house down payment and blamed it on bad investments?" Her voice shook with restrained anger. "I lost my dream home because of you, Karen." The room was silent, the weight of her words hanging heavy. Then Uncle Pete stood. "My business didn't fail because of me. It was because you drained the accounts I trusted you to manage." Cousin David was next, his face pale. What surgery? I never had surgery. You told everyone I needed money for medical bills. One by one, they stood, each revelation hitting like a thunderbolt. Years of Karen's manipulation unraveled in mere minutes, each new betrayal stripping her power away. You all agreed to help. Karen's voice rose hysterically, her composure slipping. Tell them, John. Tell them how this family works. But John wasn't defending her this time. He was staring at the credit report in his hands, his face ashen. It showed $87,000 in loans he'd never taken out, each one bearing his mother's perfectly forged signature. Mom, how could you? His voice was barely a whisper. Karen's face twisted, her mask finally cracking. Everything I did was for this family, she shrieked, lunging for the laptop and knocking over chairs in the process. You're all ungrateful. I controlled this family for 30 years. The room went silent, her unintentional confession echoing. Karen froze, realizing what she just admitted. The fallout was swift and spectacular. Within hours, 3 families contacted lawyers. John, finally confronting reality, discovered that his savings had been drained. His mother had secretly accessed his accounts. He'd lost everything enabling her schemes. Olivia. John approached me after the chaos, looking hollow and broken. I should have listened. Yes, you should have, I said. I felt no satisfaction, just relief. Good luck with the credit fraud charges. Karen's empire crumbled in weeks. Family members cut contact entirely. Her church asked her to step down from the charity board. Her country club friends abandoned her once her schemes came to light. Last I heard, she downsized to a small apartment, her assets frozen pending investigation. As for me, that promotion I mentioned at the beginning of this story turned into a full executive position. My CEO said, anyone who can handle a crisis like that deserves a spot in upper management. I sold the house John and I had planned to share and bought a sleek downtown condo just for me. Amy and several cousins are regular dinner guests now. Our bonds have grown stronger without Karen's toxicity. Sometimes healing means burning bridges and building new ones. The divorce papers came through last week. John tried one last time. We could start over, he texted. I left him on read. Instead, I took myself to Hawaii. The ocean view from my hotel room is stunning, and the Mai Tai I'm sipping tastes like freedom. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about breaking free and thriving on your own terms. After all, family is everything, right, Karen? What would you have done if you were John? Would you stand by a manipulative parent who opened credit cards in your name and drained your savings, or support a spouse who uncovered the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about family loyalty versus protecting yourself from toxic manipulation. Would you ever give someone like Karen a second chance? If you enjoyed this story of financial manipulation and sweet revenge, consider subscribing for more real-life drama and satisfying karma. Don't forget to hit that like button and turn on notifications so you never miss an installment of Family Karma Served Cold.